Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast. Now over the past few weeks, I've noticed that a lot of people out there on the internet are recommending films to watch online. Since most of us in the world are holed up in our homes at the moment, it's a pretty good idea, so I'm doing the Asian version of it. Now I know sometimes my recommendation lists can get pretty long and overwhelming, so I'm limiting myself in this video by creating two requirements. Number one, I can only recommend one film per country, and number two, they need to be available on Netflix in the United States. So let's do it. And as usual, titles for all the films I mention will be included in the description box below. So let's start with the Philippines. Birdshot, 2016. This is a dramatic thriller. A 14-year-old girl wants to explore the land beyond the family's isolated shack, but her father does not approve. She hunts and kills an endangered bird in a nearby sanctuary, which brings trouble. Meanwhile, a new cop rebels against his superiors and continues his investigation into a group of people who suddenly went missing. And these two storylines kind of converge. Now, this is a solid flick from top to bottom. Acting is really good, with Mary Joy Apostol being a standout. Direction is also top-notch, as it creates a quiet, stifling tension that hangs over the characters at all times. There's impressive character development, thematic depth, and social commentary in this movie as well. Sound design is impactful and it sticks its ending. For a blend of coming-of-age and police procedural, this is fantastic stuff by director Mikhail Red. Let's go to Thailand next, with Bad Genius from 2017. This is a suspense drama. A smart girl in high school decides to concoct an intricate plan to help other students cheat on their exams. Now, motivation for our protagonist is out of pure spite for the education system, as well as to make money on the side. But this film does muddy the waters a bit by providing some motivating factors that are actually understandable on the part of the viewer. You can understand why this girl is doing what she's doing, even though it's not exactly moral. The methods and schemes are very interesting to watch and surprisingly intense, especially during the second half, which makes this feel almost like a heist movie at times. The lead actress is great, simply a lot of fun to watch. Check this one out. Now we go to Indonesia with one that I know is pretty well known, but gotta give it some props here as well, and that is The Night Comes For Us from 2018, an action thriller. After choosing to save a little girl against the orders of his bosses, an enforcer, played by Joe Taslim, must survive the constant attacks by the gangsters, a vicious hitwoman, and his former friend, played by Iko Uwais. Now this is filled to the brim with gratuitously violent fight scenes and shootouts that are intricately choreographed, well staged, and perfectly shot. Of course, there's no way a normal person could survive this level of physical abuse and still continue to fight, but the action physics are still pretty realistic in general, with no use of wires or superhuman abilities and that type of thing. Julia Stell plays a very attractive assassin whose allegiances are questionable, and she yet again handles herself very well during the fights. This is just fantastic stuff. The script and the characters, they're pretty thinly developed, but no one should care with this much awesome bone-crushing action. An instant classic by Timo Tjahjanto. Now, Japan. We're going to Japan now, and this was an easy choice, which is a really bad thing, because Japan has continued to produce some fantastic films over the past few decades, but virtually none of them are available on Netflix streaming. Now, I'm not sure who is responsible for this, but their selection is pathetic. It's horrible. But regardless, I was able to find a high-quality drama for you, and that is River's Edge from 2018. It's a drama. Set in the 1990s, this film revolves around a small handful of high school students. The main protagonist is a girl named Haruna, played by Fumi Nakaido, who interacts with a handful of her high school peers. This movie actually avoids a lot of cliches and does not play out like you think it will for much of its runtime. In terms of tone, It is a pretty serious film that has dramatic intensity to it because it focuses a lot on its characters. Really gets into the psychology and mentality of these students while also exploring some dark themes. There is actually quite a bit of sex in this movie, actually, which I was not expecting, but it works. Some of the actors are, a bit too old to play teenagers, but the performances are solid, and I firmly believe that this movie is worthy of your time. Let's move to Vietnam with Furie from 2019. This is an action flick. I like my action flicks. Veronica No stars as an ex-gangster who is lying low in the countryside after becoming a mother, but she can't escape her violent past when her daughter is kidnapped. That's a pretty generic premise, right? But this is very nicely executed and briskly paced, with a constant sense of urgency and a series of events that take place within one day's time. There are more than enough expertly choreographed fights to satisfy, and their overall quality gets better and better as the film progresses. The finale is quite satisfying. This lead actress is talented and fast in her strikes. Good direction and camera work as well. This is a crowd pleaser. From Hong Kong, I recommend The Beast Stalker from 2008. This is a thriller. So you have a cop, played by Nicholas Che, who attempts to retrieve a kidnapped girl in this action thriller by director Dante Lam. Now, this film overpowers its formulaic premise with sheer intensity. The highlights are the very edgy finale, a very good foot chase near the midsection, and one of the coolest car collisions in recent memory. The mood is pretty gritty here, but the acting and the pacing are both spot on. Nick Chung also shines as the resolute, elusive antagonist. This is the film that put Nick Chung on my radar. Really good stuff. From China, the mainland, we get Operation Red Sea from 2018. Yeah, it's another action flick. The Navy Marine Corps launch a hostage rescue operation in a city on the Arabian Peninsula and undergo a fierce battle with rebellions and terrorism. This movie has action, and more action, with a nice variety to it, actually. There's, you get stronghold infiltrations, hostage rescues, tank battles, sniper duels, helicopter assaults, drone strikes, scenes involving natural weather events, etc. There's also a variety of weaponry and high-tech gadgets that are utilized along the way. It portrays modern desert warfare in the most thrilling of cinematic forms. This is just an exhilarating action spectacle from Dante Lam that is a must-watch. And finally, we have South Korea. Now, I saved this country for last because it was kind of a hard decision. There were some obvious choices like Train to Busan and Burning, which most people have seen already. And if you haven't, watch those. But I did want to point out something, point you towards a film that maybe is not as popular. Unfortunately, the selection of Korean films on Netflix is also pretty lacking. So I had to settle for a film that was simply good. And I decided on this one. Pil-ho, The Dawning Rage from 2019, a crime drama thriller. On the run from a infernal affairs agent, a corrupt cop, played by Sung Kyung Lee from Parasite, reluctantly teams up with a defiant teenage girl to unravel a conspiracy. Now, both leads have attitude and clash a lot, but the actors have chemistry, and there are some genuinely funny moments to enjoy. Now, at first, this seems to be a less intense and less violent film than this director's prior films, which include The Man from Nowhere. But there are some very suspenseful and violent moments, and this director is willing to do some things that you may not expect, which keeps it gives the movie an emotional kick to it at times. The protagonist in this is not a badass, he's not a good fighter, so he's always outmatched during the scuffles in the conflicts. So it gives a bit of, there's some really good suspense and tough situations here that he needs to get through. And it does have a dramatic core to it. Good flick. So there you have it. Some Asian movies for you to watch on Netflix right now. I did film this video a week in advance, so hopefully these movies are still on Netflix when this goes public on my channel. I looked online and none of these films were on the going away from Netflix list, so they should be there for you. And as always, I will see you next time.